What do we mean by the term school-to-prison pipeline? Well, the school-to-prison pipeline refers to the heightened risk of juvenile justice and criminal justice involvement among students who have been suspended and/or who drop out of school. Nationally, the criminalization of minor school-based infractions and overrepresentation of youth of color and students with disabilities are key features of the school-to-prison pipeline. And similar to the achievement gap, the costs of the school-to-prison pipeline are high for individuals and society at large. The purpose of this OLO report is to improve the County Council's understanding of the school-to-prison pipeline and its dimensions in Montgomery County. Towards that end, our report describes background information on the factors that contribute to the school-to-prison pipeline, local data on school discipline, arrest, and juvenile justice outcomes, information on the interrelated work of agencies that impact youth at high risk of entering the prison pipeline. Our report also compares local practices to best practices for stemming the prison pipeline and shares stakeholders' perspectives on what currently works well for stemming the school-to-prison pipeline in the county, as well as opportunities for improvement.
While it is really important to highlight the fact that numbers overall have dropped down, it is very concerning for me, especially as a parent of a high school junior or a young boy of color, that the disparities are there. And so what I'd like for us to do as we move forward and we're looking at this is also to kind of take a step back and stop really looking at this through this kind of cultural deficit lens that we look through. I constantly hear about the behavior of our young people and how we're going to address or react to that behavior, but I never hear about the behavior of the adults who are in positions to make decisions about what happens to young people. There have been plenty of studies borne out around young people of color and their white peers, and there is nothing statistically that's ever been proven to show that little boys of color act out more than their white peers. You can't find that anywhere. No good scientist will dare to argue that point based upon merit because it just truly does not exist. So this is more so an issue, while it's not unique to Montgomery County, but this is a societal issue. I don't want to place it directly at the feet of MCPS because obviously, as even with the achievement gap, which I really don't like that terminology, but that's larger than education alone. There are other things to take into account, but we really need to get to a place to where we have a really courageous conversation around what's really happening. We need to look at institutional and structural bias, period. That's what this is a result of, but the DMC committee, like I said earlier, stands at the ready to review this, and we will make sure that we are putting forth recommendations that are not only solid and tangible, but achievable this year to reduce the school-to-prison pipeline.
Let me just say thank you to MCPS. You guys have certainly taken seriously what we asked you to do quite some time ago in terms of really adjusting and moving the needle when it comes to our response that we continue to see within our schools that help to contribute to the school to prison pipeline by having knee-jerk reactions and oftentimes quick and, this is what it has to be and this is the punishment and this is what it's going to mean, oftentimes meant that kids weren't getting the help that they needed and unfortunately were siphoned into that pipeline. And so you've made adjustments with your code of conduct. You've made adjustments with your MOU. You've made adjustments in working with community partners and bringing them in, whether it's the state's attorneys, whether it's our police department, and understanding those kinds of things. So we've done well. So let me start off by saying that. It's the same as with our achievement gap. We have an achievement gap that's far lower than surrounding jurisdictions, much better than the nation. The reality is that even though our numbers are significantly smaller and we've done a much better job, we still continue to have people who touch the system in the wrong way. And with that disparity that we have, it continues to mean that those folks that I continue to visit when I visit my good friend, Miss Starkey and Director Green, and while I love them to death, I'd love to put them out of business. I mean, that's the reality of this whole thing is that we want to see our correctional facilities have less and less of folks that need to go that route. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of our young people that are in that system. And so from that perspective, I think we're headed in the right direction. I think that, again, the ultimate and the overarching, what I've continued to hear from you at the table has been collaboration. I've seen that in the memos, and I've heard that from you say it. And I think that together we can make this happen if we're really truly open, and we've all been that way about discussing our progress, but then also where we need to continue to develop.